Well, hi again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. I'm Harper LeBel, along with Joey Clinkscales, and along with the founder and really the originator. He's the founding father, Vincent Turner. We're here to talk to you today about the 2026 NFL Draft Prospect Show featuring Gennings Dunker, a tackle out of the University of Iowa. Here's a big guy, gentlemen, 6'5", 300 and 15, 20 pounds in that area. Not the biggest of the tackles. At 6'5", he's kind of almost small, what you would compare it to when you're looking at the 6'6", the 6'8" guys, obviously 6'7s that are listed above him. But one of the things that impressed me about Gennings, and Vincent, we'll start with you. He's a kid out of Lena, Illinois, won a high school championship as a freshman and a junior, finished his career, recruited by Iowa, and Iowa's system is a little different. They're going to patiently watch for you to play. They take a lot of basketball players I know over the years that are big guys, and they try to develop them in the weight room, and they use their size and their speed to help project them to be really good football players as opposed to just being average basketball players. But he didn't play much as a freshman, Vincent, but from then on out, he started 38 games, the remainder of his time at Iowa. He is a true senior. He did have a redshirt year. He's had plenty of experience. What say you regarding this young man out of Iowa who is impressed everybody? He's in the top 10 in terms of the tackles. We'll talk a little bit in a second about, some of his numbers and attributes that he was able to achieve at the combine, but impressive big guy and has really held anchor there at tackle for the University of Iowa.
Well, first of all, like I said, with the University of Georgia with Kirby Smart and the way he produces and coaches on defensive players, Iowa's always had a good history of producing offensive players. Kurt Ferentz, I love you, man, because this young man coming out of that system at Iowa, James Daniels, Riley Reef, Robert Gallery. And you brought up a good point, Hop, in our pre-show meeting just a few seconds ago. They love to get basketball type players and redshirt them and then develop them to offensive linemen. Well, this young man right here, Mr. Dunker, I call him the red mullet monster. He's a warrior. It's the great saying of the 78 movie, Warriors, come out to play. He's a guy that's real nasty, a guy that I like, a guy that plays right there. He plays in the trenches with a lot of energy. And I'm going to bring up the key point again. He's played over 2,164 snaps as a right tackle. But me personally, I think he's going to probably end up at guard. But our expert, Mr. Clinkscales, said before pre-show meetings he could see him as a center. But I like everything about him like a lineman. Effort, high energy guy, the motor never stop. What do more you wouldn't expect him coming out of the University of Iowa? Back to you, Mr. LeBel.
Yeah, solid player. Now, Vincent brings up some interesting perspectives in terms of his versatility, Joey. Talk first and foremost about what a tackle position would mean for him. And if that doesn't work out, is he the type of guy that you could move inside? Maybe not a Bruce Matthews exactly, but at least somebody that has the ability to play and start for you at any of the 5 positions that you need on the offensive line.
Yeah, I think watching this guy play, and again, I like to start this by saying I start by watching a highlight tape just to try to get a feel for the guy, some of the things the guy can do. So guys that have highlight tapes tells you the first and foremost, they've had enough good plays to have a highlight tape. If you don't get a highlight tape, I mean, you've kind of sucked the whole way through. But this guy had enough had enough plays to have a highlight tape. So now I know some of the things that he can do. Now, can he do it consistently? Now, when I put the regular tape on, I was a little bit disappointed. But the things this guy's a pretty good athlete. You can see him move. He's a pretty fluid mover. He can get from point A to point B. You can see him reach. You can see him pull. You can see him get to the second level. He does all that with ease. Again, they've had a lineage of a lot of productive offensive linemen in college. Not all of them have been great pro players, but they've been really good college players. And this player athletically can do everything that most of those guys can do. Okay. He is really smart. You can see it on the field. You can see him being aware of twists and stunts and late games that come. I mean, all that's pretty easy for him. You don't see him play with power with his hands. We'll start there. With his hands, he carries his hands low sometimes, but you never see him punch guys to get him off of him. He's a catcher. Now, I'm not sure whether that's taught or whether that's just the way he plays because, things may get into him quickly at times. And he's catching, protecting himself, trying to anchor rather than throwing a punch and keeping those guys off of him. So you never see him really punch to stop a charge. He's always catching. So that's something that bothers me a little bit. From a lower body standpoint, in the highlight tape, you see him finishing on run blocks, and he'll try to finish you off on a run block, especially if he's got a smaller guy or can get to second level. But in the games, consistently, he does not get a lot of movement in his lower body, which tells me that while athletic, he doesn't possess a lot of power in his lower body. Once he's engaged, you can see him run his feet, but sometimes he's killing grass in that same spot. I mean, he's running his feet, but he's not going anywhere. And you see other times where he's engaged with guys, and those guys knock him down. So that bothered me a little bit about his lower body strength. But again, he's smart. You don't really see a lot of hip roll or explosion in his lower body, which you like to see in big guys. He can bend. He just doesn't do it with any power or explosion. You don't see great twitch or change of direction. And when guys come at him, especially on his upfield shoulder, you see him slide his feet, but that second move, there's nothing powerful about him. And guys sometimes will beat him on a spin move or even just a counter move because the feet are a little bit slower in competition. So he's a good athlete in drills. They're probably pretty good. But once the pads are on and in competition, it bothers you a little bit. So that's why I said, again, in the pre-show meeting, that watching this guy play, I don't see a guy that plays heavy enough with his hands and with his hips to play inside at guard. But what I do see is a guy that maybe, if he's ever snapped the ball, put the ball between his legs, can play center. Because I do think he's smart enough. I do think he's got enough short area quickness and awareness to be a center. Now, I'm not saying he can. Now, he may have trouble playing a 34 team when you've got a 350-pound nose guard over your head, beating on your head. Now, that may be problematic, and that's where your team will help you. They'll send a double that way. And for the record, he does a good job in combo blocks. So anytime he's in a combo block situation, he's really good. He does a good job with that. So I'm not sure from a power perspective, he's a guy that you want, whether it be at right tackle. I would try him at right tackle before I tried him at guard, because at least I know a right tackle, he's going to have someone that's probably lighter than him coming at him and trying to either beat him on the edge or running down the middle of him. And again, he has trouble with that, guys running down the middle. But at guard, I mean, he's facing a big guy, and I personally have concerns watching the tape with his lower body strength.
Joey, there's a lot there, and I appreciate you mentioning that. We're not saying that he's not going to play tackle. He could be a starter and play for a decade with the club, but he also has some versatility, to where you can move him from one spot to another, whether it be through an injury or just the natural development of him. I would equate a lot of what you said reminded me a little bit of a guy like Alex Mack, who was a free agent. He'd come from Cleveland and was an all-pro. The Atlanta Falcons picked him up. I thought Alex Mack was one of those guys that I didn't have to knock you down. I didn't have to play till the echo of the whistle, but my guy never made the tackle. There's a difference. Is this a type of – I'm not calling him a finesse player. I'm just saying he doesn't need to beat you up every play, and two guys – at 300 pounds apiece, knocking each other to the ground. Sometimes you just play standing up and you just get in the way, and my running back goes right off my hip and he gains 7 yards because the guy that I'm blocking can't make the play. Do you see any of this in Jennings' game, where he may not be the most physical guy you see? I'm not saying he's not physical, but I'm saying my guy isn't going to make the tackle. Was there on the highlight reels and some of the other things that you saw, was that a portion of his game?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he can get in the way, and obviously he can he can wall and seal guys off, and the running back
Yeah.
will go inside or outside of him. And you saw enough of that to know that he could do that. And again, he's a bright guy. So whatever system he's in, he's going to be smart enough to adapt to what's going on, to understand the schemes, understand the blocking angles, and he'll be fine from that standpoint. It's just, and Iowa does a good job from, they do more than most teams of putting those guys in 3-point stands. So you can see him come off the ball. Usually that's a problem when you're looking at grading offensive linemen in college today. A lot of them are always in 2-point stands. Iowa has a great mix of 2-point stands and 3-point stands. So you will see him come off the ball. And while I don't see power, I do see first step quickness. So he's quick off the ball. Iowa does a lot of cutting. So those guys will cut. Now he's probably not going to be able to cut a lot in the NFL, especially if you cut somebody and that's a whole nother set of problems. But yeah, so at Iowa, they do a lot of cutting. So he's quick off the ball. He's able to get his guy on the ground, and guys can run by him, run off his tail and get upfield. So I'm not saying he can't do it and he won't do it. I just don't see a lot of power. And I think in the NFL, there's always a point in time where it's 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1, or on the goal line. Well, you have to be able to play with power. And I just hadn't seen this guy being able to play with power. Well, and you can play with less power on the outside than you can on the inside.
Yeah. And Vincent, coming from Iowa, as you mentioned, he had plenty of experience in terms of just getting him weight, giving him a little bit of chance here. His freshman year, his true freshman year, didn't play a whole heck of a lot, but he made a difference in his game in terms of, from his freshman year, the redshirt freshman year on, he's on the field and he's playing all the time, unless there's an injury or something. So there's a lot of strengths there. But his one-on-one speed against a Micah Parsons, a power speed guy, is that something that's a concern for you? I think it would be a concern for everybody. So I'm just saying, where do you think he ranks in terms of that? There are some things, in terms of stiffness, or, he gets beat every now and then on inside move. That can be corrected. But what are some of the things that stand out for you in terms of he needs to work on a couple of things, and when he does, he's going to be one of those elite type pass protectors?
Well, all I know is this past season at Iowa, as a right tackle, he played 269 pass blocking snaps, and he only gave up 2 sacks. But you brought up a good point, Hop. The thing about it is he got better each year he was at Iowa. Redshirted, got better, ended up playing better. Even though I know he has what Mr. Clinkscales brought up, there's some concerns. But when I look at him, especially as an offensive line player, I look at whether or not you tough. I think he fits that bill. He's competitive. And one thing, he's got a nasty, nasty mean streak. And he's coming from a school, Iowa, Kirk Ferentz. Even though some of their players really haven't panned out in the league, but I think the young man, Tyler Landenbaum, just got paid in free agency. I think he's a pretty good football player. The gentleman down there at Tampa is a pretty good left tackle that protected Baker Mayfield. What's the kid named? Tristan Wolfs? I don't want to butcher his name. So I'm not saying Mr. Duncan's going to be on that level, but I just like him. And I like the interviews he did at the Senior Bowl. He was rocking the red mullet. I don't care what you think about me. I played in the Big Ten. And most of all, what you can't take away from me, Mr. Clinkscales said he's a pretty smart football player. He was first team academic All-American. The mic has dropped. Back to you, Mr. LeBel.
Well, Joey, one of the things besides the mic dropping that is impressive to me, again, we've talked a little bit about this, is versatility. He will be picked as a tackle. He will also probably be moved to either guard or center if he doesn't pan out at the level that they need him to. Is this a first-round bust if he has to be moved in, or is this a second or third-round treasure chest of getting a guy that's going to be available for you that can play in multiple positions? Again, I'm not comparing him to Bruce Matthews. Here's a guy that was an all-pro at every level, but I'm saying the versatility is certainly going to keep you on the roster, and especially if there's an injury or near the late of the season, a guy that can play 2 or 3 positions on your offensive line. What a valuable asset that is for any roster.
Yeah, I don't think this guy's a first-round player, but what I do feel like is, he'll go early enough in the draft where he'll be in a position to compete for a starting position, and he won't necessarily, unless he wins a position, be asked to play right away, which will give him an opportunity to improve the lower body strength, to improve if he's, usually going into a game, the teams will take 8, 9 offensive linemen, 9 offensive linemen go. So the more you can do, the more opportunity you have to be on the roster if you're not a starter. So if he can play, if they feel like he's a backup guard or even a backup center, then the likelihood of him being active week in and week out are certainly much higher because of his versatility. So he's a player that can improve his versatility, and he's certainly smart enough. I mean, whether he's all Big Ten academic or not, I mean, you watch the play on the field tells you the reads, the keys that he makes, that he's a really bright football player, that he's got really good football acumen. So those things, again, they show up in his play. The things that don't necessarily show up in his play all the time are his lower body strength. But he is smart. He is tough. Like Vincent said, I mean, you can see him finishing run blocks and what have you. I mean, you wish he were tougher in pass pro. You wish that same tenacity that he showed as a run blocker, you saw in pass pro. And you asked a question earlier about facing a guy like Micah Parsons or somebody. I mean, right now, he will have trouble with guys like that. I mean, he'll have trouble with guys like that. I don't know if they played Ohio State because I wasn't able to pull that up. But I would venture to say, or obviously they didn't play Miami when you're playing those two edge guys. I would venture to say guys like that may give him some trouble because power, speed, I think are something that will give him trouble until he can get better in his lower body, and whether that's technique or whether that's just being able to drop his ass more and anchor, those kind of things, that will help. But first and foremost, it's a technique thing and it's a strength thing. And I think he can, and those are things he can improve. Yep. It'll take time. So I'm not saying he can't do it, and I'm not saying he won't be a first year starter, but it's going to take time. I mean, there've been other guys that have lacked strength. Detroit had a couple. I mean, especially the kid they have that's 6'9". All guys 6'9" to play offense, they're all going to play high. Okay, but once you learn how to play with angles and play with toughness, and this guy is smart enough to play with angles and he is tough, then you have a future. You can have a future. And I think this guy can have a future in the National Football League.
Yeah. He's listed in terms of the tackles in the lower average at 6'5", but 6'5", 315, 320, gosh, a guard, center, and even a tackle in many places, that would be just fine. He's big enough to be able to do all that. Few things he has to get better at. You and I would have problems with Micah Parsons, and maybe Jennings does right now, but he's definitely going to work on it. We wish him well. We hope that he has a great NFL career. We talked about him and so many other players, and we will be doing so all throughout the spring and right up until the NFL draft. This has been 100 Yards of Football with Vincent Turner, with Joey Clinkscales. I'm Harper LeBel saying thank you for tuning into our 2026 NFL Draft Prospect Show. This one featuring Jennings Dunker, a tackle out of the University of Iowa. We wish him well. Thank you for watching, and subscribe, please, if you enjoyed the show, and tell a friend. And meanwhile, until we meet you again next week, we'll have 3 more different prospects to talk to you about. But until then, just have a fantastic rest of your day and enjoy the rest of your week, folks. We appreciate it. Have a great day.